Right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Just a quick heads up again, we'll be recording the session so we can share this with other colleagues in the faculties. So I would like to start today with an acknowledgement of the fact that we're gathered both physically and virtually on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who've been custodians of this unceded land for many thousands of years. The University of Melbourne is situated on the lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung, the Dja Dja Wurrung people, Yorta Yorta Nation and the Wadawurrung people. And we acknowledge and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. So today we're going to give you an overview of our upcoming collaboration round for Melbourne Data Analytics Platform, or MDAP. My name's Andrew Siegel and I'm the platform manager at MDAP. And the team and I are going to present some slides today and hopefully have plenty of opportunity for Q&A at the end. And there'll be lots of opportunities obviously after this session to engage with the team as well. So we are a team of research data specialists working to enable data intensive research across a range of across all the disciplines at the university, formed as a workforce component of the Petascale Campus Initiative. The Petascale Campus Initiative, or PCI, is a 5-year plan to accelerate the university's capacity for data-intensive research. I'm going to share the screen now and hand over to Alex, who will take you through the next few slides. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Andrew. So my name's Alex and I'm going to tell you a bit more about the Petascale Campus Initiative, or the PCI for short. All right, so the PCI has been structured to support an academic-led vision, that is, embedding a process of continual improvement through consolidation, development and resourcing for both our digital science infrastructure and, crucially, the workforce that will help us to maximise our use of that infrastructure. And on this next slide, you can see a beehive diagram, which was provided by Rachel Ramsdale in Chancellery. And this slide outlines the 23 platforms across the university research infrastructure landscape. These platforms are supported primarily through the Melbourne Collaborative Research Infrastructure Program, or MCRIP for short, and many of these are equipment or facility-based platforms with a service-based approach. So MDAP differs from many of these in that it is a people-based platform with a collaborative focus. So you can see that a significant investment has been made by Melbourne Uni, but this diagram does not capture the complexity of the digital research landscape at our institution. And while the PCI has been structured to support an academic-led vision and is fully funded by Chancellery, MDAP has a slightly different funding model. So we're supported at 50% by Chancellery and 50% via the 10 academic divisions or faculties. And here you can see in an extremely abbreviated form who we as MDAP are and what we do. So our focus is threefold, and the first is that of collaboration. So we're an academic unit with a team of highly skilled research data specialists working across the entire research data or research lifecycle, and this makes us distinct from a research service provider. And MDAP takes a bottom-up approach, and this allows us to collaborate and engage directly with researchers and research groups. Our second focus is that of computing. So with our team's experience and background, we can cover a wide range of disciplines and fields. We're experts in digital methods, and we are uniquely positioned to understand the language of computer scientists, data analytics, and data stewardship. And our third focus is research impact. So while we are ultimately evaluated on similar metrics to those imposed on traditional teaching and research academics, so on that 40-40-20 model, we also value non-traditional and qualitative research outputs. And we also have another slide to show you from our recent MDAP brochure. Yep, here it is. And this shows you the cross-faculty interactions and connections to various university services that we at MDAP have facilitated over the last 12 to 18 months. And the focus here is always on faculties. The focus here is on faculties, and it shows the number of collaborations complete or underway. So we always focus on working with researchers and research groups to uplift their work. And here in the diagram, you can also see the estimated breakdown of data science, computation, and stewardship work that has been enabled by MDAP. And so now I'm going to hand you over to Rob, who's going to tell you more about what we do. So thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Now, hi everyone. My name's Robert Turnbull. I'm one of the research data specialists at MDAP. The MDAP workforce currently stands at 21 people, following a recent doubling of the size of our team. The team's led by Professor Andrew Turpin as our director and Dr. Andrew Siebel as our platform manager. Most of the rest of us are research data specialists like me. What characterizes our team is applying data analytics to complex research problems. We each have experience in computational disciplines, but we come from a very broad cross-section of academic domains. For example, we've come from working in fields such as archaeology, astrophysics, mathematics, genomics, geography, history, neuroscience, and many more. My own PhD work is in digital humanities, applying data analytics to medieval Arabic manuscript traditions. We also bring to the table strong organizational skill sets with experience in how to manage the life cycle of a data-intensive research project as a cohesive team. An important feature of working with MDAP is that you're not just working with an individual, but you have access to the skills and experience of the whole team. The next slide, Andrew, please. Our role as research data specialists is to work in collaboration with academics at the university. We're not a service provider. We're a team of academics, and we're looking to collaborate with people to contribute with papers and with other research outputs. So when you as a researcher engage with MDAP, you come with your domain experience, and we can work with you to plan together how to use data analytics to help answer your research question. We can put together a strategy for research data stewardship so that your data is secure and accessible in the most appropriate manner. We can experiment with what best novel data analysis tools are best suited for your research. And we can also work with you at the compute stage by running models in the cloud or on high performance computing infrastructure. The next slide, please, Andrew. So these are some examples of the ways we can contribute to your research output. So we can collaborate to come up with a research design. We can help with data collection and management. We can write software, design algorithms, and co-author papers. We also want to introduce you to new technology so that you're equipped to continue to do data-intensive research after the period of collaboration with us is complete. For example, we can help upskill you in learning software languages and packages, or using visualization tools, or just helping you work with version control and things like that. So next slide, please, Andrew. So we have four main pillars of engagement with the University of Melbourne community. So our main focus is research through collaborations, as I've been talking about, and you're going to be hearing some examples of some of the collaboration projects we've been involved in the past and currently involved in. The next pillar is advocacy. Because we sit within the Peterscale Campus Initiative, and we've got this bottom-up approach, we're in a unique place to advocate for your needs as researchers to the PCI and to other top decision makers as per the infrastructure and the tools that you need from the university. Another pillar is consultancy. Most of our time is focused on the research collaborations, but we're also able to handle questions and to advise on data questions. And we do that through our mdap-info@unimelb inbox. And we strive to promptly answer all the questions that come through there. And the final pillar is community building. So networking is a key part of our mission. Our team is working across all the academic divisions at the university, and we actively try to break down silos and to make connections between different groups and to promote collaborative research. We also regularly meet with others at the uni who are working in similar roles, such as at Scholarly Services and Skip and the Digital Studio and other groups. Now I'm going to hand over to Emily, who will continue the presentation.
Try that again. So I'm Emily Fitzgerald. I'm another the research data specialist here. So in terms of, I'm going to talk a bit about the formal collaboration process and then one of our collaborations. So the main way we engage with people is through our formal collaborations process. We put out a call twice a year for people to express interest in collaborating with us, and for these, we're looking for projects that will be of high strategic value to the university and to the faculties. And it's a merit-based allocation system. So it's not looking for like the most senior people to work with. In fact, we highly encourage ECRs to work with us, but looking for the projects that we can help best with. But we ourselves don't actually make the final decision as to which projects are going to, applications become formal collaboration. That's decision is made by an independent senior academic committee, the RAC, the Research Allocation Committee. And so the process there that we follow, the expression of interest for our next round are currently open. They opened on Monday and they close on the 15th of November. And this is a very short expression of interest form where we're essentially just trying to get a sense of what it is that you're looking to do and how we can help and what stage the research project is at. And then we will invite people to put in a full application. So for this forthcoming round, that will be opening that on the 26th of November and closing on the 18th of December. The decision-making process will happen over December, January, with the next round of collaborations expected to start in early to mid-February. Next slide, please, Andrew. The other way that we can engage with people is through informal projects. So this is always open. This is it might be a matter of contacting us directly with a question. We're happy to consult and advise people. Sometimes that advice will be direct help. Other times it might be directing you where in the university there might be an area or another platform who may be able to help you. And also through, if you've got a small project that's not as big as something that you might put a formal collaboration in, or is it an earlier stage, depending on the availability of people, that's something we might be able to take on as well. Next slide, please, Andrew. So looking back to get a sense of how the process works, looking back at the collaborations that we are currently doing in the process that happened earlier this year, we received 60 expressions of interest across all 10 of the different faculties or academic divisions, including 7 from arts and 3 from education. So that went through, those expressions of interest went through the triage process. Some were had similar aims or goals as others. So we actually introduced the applicants to each other, and some of those ended up with being merged applications. Some we felt were better suited to other services, so we directed them to there. And we ended up having 40 full applications, which we then went through our internal assessment and then sent recommendations off to the Research Allocation Committee, who then decided on 17 projects to a total of 15.4 FTE of the MDAP team. So that's where we're currently at, and hopefully similar outcome with the next round of collaborations that are open at the moment as well. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about one of the collaborations that's currently undertaking, where we're working with Dr. Mitchell Harrop, and the MDAP team is myself, Kim, John, Alex, and Karen. We're working on the grimoire, the natural angle historical mapping. So this is a slightly different style of collaboration to some of the others that we have. Mitchell is working as part of the Melbourne History Workshop led by Professor Andy May on the time-led cultural mapping project, which is a big inter-university and others collaboration funded by an ARC linkages grant to bring together tools and resources that can be used for humanities researchers to map projects they're working on, including mapping over time. So it's a really good project, and you should definitely go and have a look at that as well. But while working on this, Mitchell saw the need for a guide or a cookbook or something to help researchers who may be using the time-layered cultural map, both to get an understanding of the principles and tools on offer and help get data ready so it can be used in the time-layered cultural map tools. So with this collaboration, the MDAP team have been working to produce a grimoire, currently titled Grimoire for the Digital Humanities, the Forbidden Atlas, with the idea being that rather than a cookbook that gives us step-by-step process or instructions on how to make something that can soon become out of date as different systems are updated and changed, it's a grimoire. So it's a book of magical principles that show how to do things from a different approach. So for example, we've got a section that looks at APIs and how to extract information from, say, the Trove API. And we cover it looking at how you would get that in a browser, look at that information in a browser as an XML file, but then also how you would extract that information into a spreadsheet with Google Sheets, and then also how to do the same thing using Python code. So this multi-approach can then help understand the way these things work, so that even after the various versions of systems that we're using as examples have been updated or replaced, the information will still be useful and get the underlying principles of how to do this sort of thing, and hopefully be helpful in people applying digital humanities methods to their research. And next, I'm going to hand over to Crystal to talk about another collaboration we currently have going.
Thanks, Emily. Yes, so I'm going to share with you a collaboration we currently have that underway with the chief investigator being Kate Coleman from MGSE. So this collaboration is operating under the name Data Creativities. And in June this year, researchers from around the university were brought together by a shared interest in understanding the fast-paced shift to making, living and learning during a time of crisis. So the team really coalesced around a shared interest in what the data is telling us about the creative industries during the time of COVID. But before I tell you anything more about the collaboration itself, I think I'd like to talk a bit more about the team. And this is because the background and the skills of the team are inextricably linked to the way we've developed our approach to the research. So there are a few names on this slide, but in reality, our collaborative team is much wider reaching than this. So Andrew, if you could go to the next slide. That's great, thank you. So in fact, in our team, we have individuals from MDAP, MGSE, Arts, FAM, the Centre for the Study of Higher Education, Scholarly Services, Teaching and Learning, SKIP, and and more as well. So some of the team are actually here today, and I'll throw to them in a minute to see if they'd like to say a few words about the collaboration that I'm talking about right now. So this diversity is a strength of the team. And as you can see in this little spinny graphic, there's a whole ecosystem that has grown around the Data Creativities team. And we've built out a framework and a method of working that doesn't consider data only as a way of answering a question, but as a method for posing a question. So to put it another way, the Data Creativities collaboration is at the center of what we do. And that collaboration is made up of equal parts people, data, and tools. So to talk briefly about one of the outcomes of the collaboration that might be of interest to some of those who are in the audience today, in early December, the collaboration will be presenting a workshop showcasing some of our findings and methodologies. In this workshop, we will recognise that the shift online has changed how we work, but we will ask how the shift online can be leveraged to enhance how we work. To this end, we'll discuss the data that we're accumulating through our online activities, particularly as they relate to the creative industries, and we'll unpick how this data can be used to inform our research and the scholarship of technology enhanced learning. So I'm just going to pause my bit for the moment to see if Kate and I think Amanda's on the line as well, if either of you would like to say a few words.
I might just tell a quick story about what it means to be, when Emily talked about a merge. This to me was one of the most amazing outcomes of this Data Creativities team, because I was set up on a blind academic date. And in that blind academic date, I had some amazing MDAP researchers who were actually there to kind of position us as researchers together and to think about what an inter or cross-faculty project might actually enable. And instead of doing a project that was, I guess, you know, living within the same zeitgeist, instead of running them up against each other, actually to think about what a further collaboration might be. And to me, that's been the most amazing impact on the EOI process, to actually think about a collaboration actually truly using a co-design method so that people meet together, establish their thinking, have then the week, because you saw on that timeline that Em showed, it's pretty tight. But it means that you get to come together as a team very quickly and think about what your process might be. And I think that, you know, if you're hesitant about your EOI, trust the system, because they're actually able to think about some other possibilities for you depending on the other EOIs that come in, or possibly some other projects that they know about. And also in arts and at MGSE, to think about the broader connection to the social and cultural informatics platform, and to engage in that wider network. Because for me, this project, from that kind of academic dating service to the partnership that we've now got between MDAP and SCIP and now our 2 faculties, and then adding FFAM onto that, means that we've got a really broad connection that, you know, we see as a long living project for a long time to come, that's really only just kicked off, because it didn't begin with a question. It began with a collaboration that then began a kind of story into what data streams might enable us. And then it's landed now in questions that are giving us different outputs.
And if I can just add, you know, Crystal and Kate have talked about the broader view, and maybe if I can talk a little bit about the narrow view of the data. So this project has been an opportunity to dip our toe into the Canvas data that's available to us, and understand our ethical obligations, but also explore it a bit and see what, for example, the welcome text, how are educators welcoming students, or the announcements and patterns of announcements, how are lecturers communicating, and when they're communicating, what are the patterns? So I'd encourage you all to think about these kind of collaborations, for the opportunity to have access to that kind of data and the expertise of what for me, it's been working with educators and data scientists and GLAM sector people, to understand a bit more about what we want, what questions we want to ask of the data.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can proceed to the next slide. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, thanks so much, Amanda and Kate. Emily is also on the collab. And I think that's everyone on the call who's on the collab currently. But yeah, so we've got a bit of a critical mass here too, which is nice. But yeah, this collaboration is a great example of how we're exploring data that is already there, which was a huge draw card of looking at the Canvas data as well. And I think this collaboration is also a really good example of how MDAP can work with you at any stage of your intended research project. So please do get in contact with us if you have any kind of idea about, you know, what you may or may not like be thinking of submitting as an EOI. Because we always want to talk about anything related to data anyway. So there's that. And also, you know, we have a broad spectrum of collaborations that we work with as well. We understand that data intensive and data driven mean very different things in different contexts. And that's a strength of the MDAP EOI process as well. So I'm going to wrap that up here. These are our contact channels. So if you want to get in touch with us after the presentation, and yeah, I guess we'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate that. Thank you, Kate and Amanda, for your comments there. I think it's a super example of how we've brought, you know, teams together. You know, across faculties, across platforms. It's been just a really great example of the benefit of being centrally kind of located and trying to connect people in this kind of way. So I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording.